Keep doing that. You're most welcome back to another episode of the Rugby Show here on finalwhistle.ie. My name is Breifne Early, and joining me once again for another look all around the AIL, a little bit of schools rugby, and maybe a little flash of the ladies interprovincials as well. Action last weekend and this weekend, of course, to keep us interested in the female side of the game. We'll be talking schools rugby later on. Of course, the Connacht and Munster Schools Cups kicked off in earnest today. We have some post-match reaction from the Connacht games, as well as a bit of a chat about the Munster game that happened earlier in the day as well. We'll also take a look in depth at Division 2C with player coach from Instonians, who are the absolute runaway favourites at the top of the table. Maximum points, 45 points from a total maximum of 45 points. We'll be talking to Paul Pritchard very, very soon. But Ciaran, I suppose, first of all, Happy New Year. You're very welcome back to the show. Not that you're ever not here with us anymore, but how was your Christmas? How was your New Year? Did you miss the rugby?
Yeah, it was good. I was a little bit sick, but I think half the country was sick, to be honest with you. So yeah, it was good. There was lots of rugby on the television over Christmas, so it was there. And now we're really in the thick of things with the AIL coming fully back. There was a couple of games last weekend, but it's fully back this weekend. And you've got the Interpros, then you've got the schools, as you said, and then before you know it, it'll be under 20s, then the Six Nations, and everything will start get going. So, yeah, really exciting couple of months ahead.
And then we all know what comes after that. Christmas comes around again. But before we see someone who's got all their Christmas presents in the first half of the season, 45 points at the top of that Division 2C table, let's invite Paul to join us now. And he joins us from all the way from Belfast. Paul, you're very, very welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for having me.
I suppose we have to start with the season. It's the talk of everyone who's following the complete AIL outside the top divisions. 9 wins, 9 winning bonus points. There's no stopping Estonians this year. And to cap it all off, you're the new boys in the division. You should be just trying to stay alive, but you're showing the rest of them how it's done. What's your thoughts on the season so far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going very well. For us, we were sort of looking at the league as a whole. We were looking at Terranure, who were, until I think maybe the last game were 40 from 40 as well. So it wasn't too sort of exceptional compared to some of the other teams up in the league. I think over the years, as teams have went up and have done back to back going out of junior, and it's notoriously hard to get out of with the playoff system there. So we sort of had that as a goal in mind, that we knew that we could, with our group of players, hit this league or hit the ground running in this league. Obviously, it's going very well. We're keeping very grounded. We take each game as it comes, and the way we see it now, we're just at the halfway point. It's half time, and we need to keep going. And obviously for us, the aim is to do the exact same again in the second half of the season. So we start here with Oma. We had a tough game against them, in the reverse fixture there a couple of weeks ago, and we know that everybody knows what our game now as well. Everyone has the advantage of playing us. They have the video on us. As you said, we were the new boys, so maybe they didn't know much about us from last year, whereas they do now. So we're looking forward to the challenge in the second half, and hopefully we can do the same again.
As Breifne said, 45 from 45. From that, you'd think it's been plain sailing. But has there been any kind of challenging moments in the season so far for you guys?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, the whole thing was a challenge for us. Instonians haven't been a senior club in a long time, so and a lot of the players haven't played senior before. So coming into that setup, we're traveling, we're doing the overnight stays, we're bringing that in, brought its own challenges. We had a game down in Clonmel there where the weather was sideways, and coming out of those games, they can be real banana skins against a very good team away from home. You've got that sort of 30-mile-an-hour sideways wind that you get down there against you, and those games can go either way. But for us, that's a character thing, and we look at trying to make sure we have the character to do that, so they can, it's sometimes those games don't come down to the skillful moments or the moments of brilliance from individuals. They have to be, roll up the sleeves and do the hard work. And I think it says a lot about our group that whatever we were at that stage, 35 and 35, the lads were still willing to do that. And, the celebration of when we got that bonus point try quite near the end was as if we had just, secured the league or something like that. So that's very important. That's not something which is easily coached. That's in a group, I think, already. I think the lads have to bring that themselves, and they bring that in abundance. So we're very, very fortunate in that.
How important is the bonus point culture within the club in terms of, because winning is a habit, but winning bonus points is also probably a habit in terms of you go into every game now probably planning to score 4 tries. It's a target, or is it a target when you take to the field every week?
No, I don't. It's not a target. It's not something that we would say, in a team meeting, like, oh, we have to get the bonus point win here. Obviously, at home, that's something you would target. You would try and get your bonus points at home, and you take the win when you're away. Like, we still have that mindset. But at the end of the day, like, you got to score more tries in the opposition, and if you can score 4 or 5, then that makes life a lot easier. Really,
I suppose I've said it to Breifne a couple of times. I think that the junior rugby, it's so hard to make that jump. You not only have to win your provincial league in Ulster, but you have to play the likes of Bective, like you guys had the last season, then the Connacht winners and the Munster winners. But I suppose once you make that jump, is that the most difficult thing? And then when you get to the AIL, you can really kick on from there. Like, the gap from Division 1 junior rugby, whether it be in any of the provinces, there isn't much of a gap between the likes of AIL 2C and the junior rugby. And I think that's what you guys are showing at the minute.
Yeah, I think so. And I think here in Ulster, it's probably the junior rugby, the league at the moment is very strong. If you look at the junior All-Ireland Cup there, it's got 2 Ulster teams in the final. I think it was the same last year and possibly the year before as well. So, when you're coming against those teams in the league, obviously it puts you in good stead because you're playing some very good teams in that junior setup. So, and then the schedule can be quite grueling. And lads, I know at the end of last year, we were in a situation we had a COVID draw where a team had COVID in camp and couldn't play us, and we had a team, Clocker Valley were sort of quite close to us, and we ended up just having to win every game with bonus points to ensure it. We had Clocker Valley right at the end, and then we had the playoffs. So you ended up having 6 weeks at the end of a year where you had to win every game, and mentally that's tiring as well as physically on a squad. And then factor in that you only have 2 subs in junior rugby as well, which was something that took me a while to get used to when I'd moved down to playing junior a few years ago. It's difficult now because obviously you have to carry props, so there's a lot of moving parts in that.
You could make an argument that you're probably stronger than a 2C squad at the moment. You're like 17 or 19 or 18 points or something ridiculous ahead of 3rd place. So even if you only picked up a couple of points here or there, you're probably still guaranteed to be top 2 at this stage. Of course, you're going to hopefully go for the 18 bonus points, no pressure. But where do you see this squad and the squad that you have in terms of maybe where they might fit? Are they a 2C squad, a 2B squad, maybe even a 2A or higher squad?
I think, the squad at the moment, I think, we are where we are, and that's fine. I think the ambition of the squad and the ambition of the club certainly to be as high as what we can be. Instonians historically has always been a senior club, until the last 8 years they were down junior. But when I came out of school, which is a long time ago, but Instonians were always one of the top Ulster teams, and there's a connection with the school there. If you look at in school, obviously produces a lot of talent, and the further we can go up, the sort of closer that relationship can come with Ulster taking as many of the academy sort of players from the school. It would be ideal if we could get those into us, so they're playing their club rugby once they do their 2 years of club or 1 year, whatever it is. If they can do that with us, they have that reason to play for us, and so we just want to keep going, I suppose, is the easy way to say that. We take each game as it comes, and we'll certainly get to this off season wherever we are. We'll take that as it comes, and I think if you're not striving to go forward, if you're happy to stand still, then you're probably going to go backwards. So we will always be looking to move forwards, I suppose.
Tell us a little bit about the club, because I wasn't really that familiar with the club before they jumped up to AIL, and just the whole community sense on the social media channels. Like, it's a very together club. They seem to be really enjoying their Saturdays at the moment. I suppose, of course, you are when you're winning all the time. But tell us a little bit about the club and what it's like and the culture there.
Yeah, I mean, the club's brilliant. As I said there, there's a great connection with the school, and I think our first game of the season, I think we had 12 in the squad were all ex schoolboys of different years. So there is that sort of camaraderie there between lads that went to school together and are now playing their senior rugby together, which is obviously a brilliant connection to have. We have a Project Seahorse going on at the minute where there's a lot going into our mini rugby and trying to get those players coming up through the club system who aren't through the school and trying to get them into senior rugby, which is important. And these guys there like Mikey Fairbanks and Clem Boyd are doing a wonderful job going into other schools which don't have rugby in the city and getting them involved. And then, it's when you're winning games, it's a good feeling, when everyone wants to be involved in that. Our twos are absolutely flying as well, which is incredibly important for any senior rugby team. You need to have that strength and depth, and you need to have guys in the twos who are trying to get into that one squad and are being successful as well. So we have a great group. There's a young group of lads there as well. And I think I said to you beforehand, we had Rhys O'Donnell there who played for Ulster A last weekend against Ealing, or last Friday, sorry, which is brilliant, which just shows that that Ulster are watching us and are seeing what we're doing, and that helps us. That helps keeps us motivated as well, and that's nice for the lads to have that.
We talked about the jump from junior to senior rugby, and I suppose one of the big things is you're competing in Ulster last year. No matter how rigorous the schedule was, all the games were in the province. Now, most of the teams in your province are like Tullamore is nearly a home game at this stage. You're looking at Cork, you're looking at Tipperary, you're looking at Limerick. I think Cork might even have 2 or 3 teams in there as well. That's got to be challenging to get your head around and kind of deal with that, both in the time sense as well as the financial aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean that's another sort of where we can sort of thank the club and what everyone's doing and behind the scenes there to make sure that we have the preparation that we want. Away games is always something that I preferred, to be honest, because you're almost a professional for 2 days, or you have your meeting in the morning, you just have breakfast together, and you have the group for longer, and it is it's as close to professional as what most of us will get. So that's great. I really enjoy that side, and I think the players do as well. And obviously then we get to be amateurs in the bus home or the hotel stay that night, so we get the best of both worlds, which is outstanding. So it's a challenge that we knew we'd face, and I think we've adapted very well to it. And then at the same time, those teams from Cork have to come up here and do the exact same thing that we have to do, and it's just about us trying to prepare as best we can for that, and I think we have. That first half of the season, I think we had 9 away. Out of the games there, sorry. 6 out of the 9 were away. So we've got more home games here in the second half, which is good. Which is good for us in the running.
Just from your own point of view, I know you're a player coach. How do you strike that balance, I suppose, from being their teammate on the pitch and kind of training with them to also being their coach and maybe ordering them around sometimes? Like, how do you strike the balance?
I don't know. I suppose I've probably always been a wee bit bossy, so it's maybe came a bit easier for me. Bossy is probably a polite way of saying it. My teammates would maybe use a few other words which I won't use, but it's came quite naturally to me. This is only sort of my second full year coaching, so like it's all new to me, and I'm learning. And I think being able to admit when you're wrong, or being able to just for the lads to understand that you're still learning and that it's new to you is good. And as I said, like they're a great bunch, and it's that helps.
Well, listen, it's been phenomenal from our distance. I don't know if Ciaran has any other questions for you, but
well, I was just going to say, can you go on now? Like, if you don't get promoted, is that a failed season?
If we don't get promoted this season,
yeah, from where you are, like 45 from 45, surely promotion is what you want now.
Yeah. Obviously, that's what we want. That's the aim. That was the aim at the start of the year. We're in a good place, but I've been in this league long enough to know that it's easy for things to change. We're only halfway through. A lot of teams have slipped up at Christmas, and I suppose that's my job and the other coach's job to make sure that we don't have any complacency and we don't get ahead of ourselves. And I certainly don't think that our group will suffer from that. We're hungry to try and push on.
Well, hopefully, Ciaran hasn't written almost team talk for them on Saturday. But listen, Paul, it's been phenomenal from us watching on, seeing the results coming in every week, and lovely to meet you and to chat to you about everything that's going on in the club. It's really good to see some really positive steps being taken by any club in the league, but particularly the newest members of the league, or the newest re-entrants to the league. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be chatting to you or your teammates before the end of the season, and hopefully we'll be, hopefully from your point of view at least, there'll be a silverware at the end of all and promotion to 2B for next season. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
Best of luck for
thanks for having me.
Paul Pritchard there, absolute gentleman, but they seem to be really, really pushing on in the club, and great to see them just hit that ground running back in senior rugby.
Yeah, it's very good, and I've said this a couple of times this season already. It's very similar to Enniscorthy. The story is very similar. Like, Enniscorthy came up from Leinster League 1A, then they ended up winning 2C last season. So the story is very similar, and it's great to see clubs, progressing in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. We might as well start with 2C then. We did have the fixtures at the bottom of the screen, the results last weekend. Of course, no game for Instonians. They had played over that weekend just before the end of December, but some big results there. Bruff, probably the biggest one. They got a nice result, 24-20 win against Middleton, while Tullamore beat Ballina 22-15. So a good single try victory there for Tullamore. Keeps them in the hunt, potentially as the only team really maybe left with a chance, an outside chance at that, at catching Instonians.
Yeah, I suppose they'll just take it every game as it comes. I think every team do that anyway. Even Instonians, they're probably just taking it every game as it comes. But Scaries as well, I think, are thereabouts in the top 4 as well. So I suppose getting in that top 4 is probably the aim for everyone. And maybe for Instonians, the goal has changed a little bit now that they're so far ahead. But I think for the likes of Tullamore and the likes of Scaries, that getting in the playoffs and securing their place there is kind of the goal.
Yeah, here's the league table just as it stands at the moment, ahead of the games at the weekend. And as you can see down below, Instonians do host Home Academicals at the weekend. Sunday as well, they play Clonmel, Bruff and Middleton. It's a reverse of the last round of games, basically. Bangor hosts Scaries and Ballina hosts Tullamore. So Instonians, they've been moving against everybody in the league. Hopefully they will do it from Paul's point of view, at least next weekend as well. It's mid-season. It's midway point to the season. Can anyone catch Instonians? In your opinion?
Well, they're in the driving seat now. Unless something goes terribly wrong, you'd kind of like, it would be different if they were on, like, I'd say if they were 9 from 9, but they only had like a couple of bonus points. But the fact that they've done it so emphatically and won so comfortably, it's like nobody's really challenged them. So it's like it'll be hard to see things to go that wrong in the second half of the season. I think Paul's pretty modest, to be honest. Like, I think he's probably well aware that like things couldn't be going any better for them in terms of how the season's going. And I think, to be honest, unless they implode or something goes really, really wrong, like, they should be all right.
Commentator's curse there now. Congratulations. If you don't get promoted, he's going to come hunting you down.
Yeah.
Let's go backwards to the table then. Division 2B next. Some big results last weekend. Belfast Harlequins, big draw with Malahide. Malahide had been struggling a little bit in the league, but they've kind of steadied the ship in the last few weeks. How important is that result likely to be for them? And is it a bit of a disappointment from Belfast Harlequins not to get the points to get into the top 3?
Yeah, I think Belfast Harlequins are a team that are pushing for the top 4 and the playoffs. So the better, they need to win those type of games against the likes of Malahide. And also, I think before Christmas, Greystones played Wanderers, and I think there was 2 points that separated the sides. And I think Wanderers probably pushed Greystones more than anybody else this season. So that could be a great game this weekend in the reverse fixture. But Belfast Harlequins just sitting outside of the top 4. A win could put them into the top 4. So, yeah, every point counts, really. We say that in every division. And then you've got Enniscorthy there at the bottom. It's been a very tough. I was just talking about them coming up from 2C in junior rugby, but it's maybe been a step too far for them so far in 2B. they'll be looking for just an improved second half of the season. Whether it be 1 win or 2 wins, they'll just be looking for a bit more. Galwegians are starting to come into a little bit of form as well, lifting themselves off the bottom a little bit. Who knows if they can get themselves out of trouble. Wanderers are a team that I've tipped as dark horses all season. It hasn't really clicked for them, but maybe in the second half of the season they can really push for the top 4. Galway Corinthians, to be fair, Greystowns have won every game, but Galway Corinthians are only behind them by 4 points, so they'll be hoping to make that gap smaller. And who knows, maybe they can grab the first place spot in the second half of the season. But I think for Greystowns, they'll be hoping to finish top, because of course what happened to them last season, losing in the final, it was bitterly disappointing for them. So they'll want to make sure they get that promotion this season.
And of course, should Galwegians do the double over Enniscorthy at the weekend, it would leave potentially 6-7 points between most of those teams. There's only from 3rd down to 8th, there's only 6 points at the moment. So 1 or 2 games in anyone's favour or against them could really push them into the top sides. Let's take a quick look through Division 2A of the table. Any of these games over the weekend, there's much more fixtures in this game last week, on this division last weekend, than there would have been in the others. Ballymena 12, Queen's University 26, Cashel 17, Blackrock College 17, Nina Ormond 31, Navan 15, UL Bows 20, MU Barnhall and the Clash of the Universities in that division, or 2 of the universities, should I say, 17, a 3-point victory for UL Bows in that particular game. And this is how that all pans out now when we look at the website. Queen's University and Blackrock College still top of the table at 35 points each, while down the bottom, Dolphin and UL struggling at the moment. It's going to be difficult to see UL or Dolphin get themselves back into the survival race here.
Yeah, but on that same note, UL got their first win of the season this last weekend. So, a part of them will be feeling, we got 1, so they'll be aiming to get the second now in the reverse fixture. So they'll be happy that they've got 1 win on the board. And who knows, the way they have to approach it really is just say, look, let's forget about those first kind of 8 games, I suppose, and let's just, new season, let's see where we can go from here. That's kind of going to be their aim. Queen's University, if someone had said they'd be top of 2A at this point at the start of the season, you'd be like, yeah, that's a fair bet, considering that, similar to Greystowns, they probably should have went up last season. Blackrock College doing very well to be there. Them and Cashel, great draw last weekend, should be another great game this weekend. And of course, they're right on top of each other. Blackrock are slightly on top of Cashel in the table, so who knows, a win for Cashel could close that gap. So yeah, it's really interesting 2A. MU Barnhall 4th place, but as I said, UL Bows got the win over them at the weekend. So yeah, anything can happen in 2A.
Yeah, it's always competitive, as most of these divisions are as well. Looking at Division 1B, some results from last weekend. St Mary's College beaten by Highfield, scoreline of 34 points to 14, while Old Wesley had a 36-26 win at Banbridge. That leaves the league table again. There was games played in the weeks leading up to these. Buccaneers still top of the table by 1 point from City of Armagh. St Mary's College, who of course were beaten last weekend by Highfield. They both sit 3rd and 4th in the table, while Banbridge beaten again, 2 wins so far themselves and Malone, struggling a little bit adrift now of Nace in 8th place on the table. Your thoughts on how this table is shaping up? Can Buccaneers go all the way? Will the Eddie O'Sullivan factor make a difference?
Well, they lost their last game against Nace, and not to blow my own trumpet here, Breifne, but in my preview, the last or before Christmas, I said I could see Nace beating Buccaneers, and that's exactly what happened. But anyway, we got back to the rugby. I think that's
the podcast version of I Told You So, Ciaran.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody reads those previews, but I'll just tell
they
them.
They do.
But I was I suppose Buccaneers, it's important for them to not lose focus, because anything can happen in the second half of the season. Look, Eddie's an experienced coach, as we always say, and they've got some really good players, like the likes of Shane Layden, who we had on earlier in the season. They'll be focused, but I think City of Armagh deserve a lot of credit, to be in 2nd place. I think they finished 6th last season, finished the season very well, and done really, really well this season, like really, really well. From the weekend's results, I was actually kind of surprised at how Highfield beat St. Mary's, because St. Mary's were very much a team in form. They were looking very good, and Highfield kind of beat them comfortably enough in the end, 34-14. The Banbridge result, it looks bad, but I believe Banbridge scored 26 points in that second half, all their points in the second half, and they made a bit of a comeback. So that's a positive for them. They've got Rob Little in their team, Ulster player, very, very good. Who knows what can happen for them in the second half of the season. But I suppose the big one is, I think when the season started, UCC won their first 4 games. They were top of the table. They were looking really good, and I think they've lost 6 on the bounce now. It's either 5 on the bounce or 6 on the bounce. But they're 6th, I think they're 7th in the table, actually. And if they lose to Old Belvedere, and Old Belvedere are very hard to beat in Ollie Campbell Park, by the way. If they lose to Old Belvedere, they could really be going from it looked like maybe a promotion fight back to 1A to a possible relegation fight, which is something you wouldn't have expected given their first 4 games. I'm really surprised by that. And in the same regard, if Old Belvedere win and Old Wesley win again, they've put themselves very much in that kind of top 4 battle. I do expect Naas to have a big second half to the season, similar to what they had last season. They managed to do really well at the end of last season, sneak into 4th place, and then they ended up getting to the 1B final. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a charge in the second half of the season. But at the moment, Buccaneers and City of Armagh are kind of the standout teams. But the likes of Old Belvedere, Highfield, Old Wesley are all kind of bunched up together.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of Division 1A, just the final set of games played last weekend. Bless you. Ballinhinch 31, UCD 25, Dublin University 35, Cork Con 35. That was an absolute cracker of a game over the weekend. Just tries all over the place. 10 tries in all, I think, in that game. But just an absolute cracker. Your thoughts on kind of how that first 9 rounds of that competition have gone so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm glad you said the game was a cracker, because I heard the commentator was awful at that game.
That was me telling me that.
Yeah. According to the YouTube comments, but he was awful. But anyway, it was a good game. Yeah. 1A as a whole, to be honest, the real talking point is they're in 9th place. I think Lansdowne, nobody expected that, least of all me, to be honest with you. I'll concede to that one. I do believe that there's a new boss at the helm. That's kind of the rumor going around at the minute. I think it's confirmed as well that they've decided to shake things up a little bit. So who knows what that might do in the second half of the season. In terms of this weekend, I think there's 2 massive games. Ciaron College against Young Munster. It is also a Bateman Cup semi-final. It's kind of mixed. They're doing it for 2 things, the league and the Bateman Cup. So if Ciaron, of course, they were beaten by Young Munster, the first team to beat them this season in round 9. So, I think if Young Munster win that, they're not only pushing for the top 4, but they also could blow the kind of league open a little bit, because up until that loss, Ciaron looked kind of unstoppable, to be honest. Well, Trinity did push them very far, actually, in the last game before that. It was 23-21. And in the same regard, Trinity Cork Con, it happened last week, and it was I can't wait to see this again. And then you remembered you only have to wait 7 days. But I think that's a massive game in terms of who's gonna, cement their place in the top 3. I think Cork Con threw that game away, in my opinion. For anyone who watched, I think Cork Con had the better forwards, and they had so much more opportunities in the first half, and it was just a line-out throw. And I think there was 5-6 line-outs that went astray for them in the 22 in the first half. And if they had got that right, they probably could have pushed on and won the game comfortable enough. The thing with Trinity is they've probably got, I'd say, the most exciting backline in the AIL, in terms of they can make something happen out of nothing. Some of those guys are unreal. And I think that was the problem for Cork Con. Anytime they kicked the ball away and gave it back to Trinity were either running it back at them through the likes of Aaron Egan or Colin Hogan. And Trinity were some of the tries you've seen from Trinity are just amazing. So I think that's something Cork Connell definitely been working on the line out during the week. Getting that right, and also making sure that you don't give Trinity ball in broken play.
Yeah, of course. That's the AIL looked at after. We've got so much to get through. We're just going to fly right through it. But the women's Interpros last weekend, kind of as you would expect, bonus point victories for Munster and Leinster over Connacht and Ulster. Is it very much a two-tier game at the moment in the country? Are we looking at kind of Munster and Leinster having the lion's share of it, and really Connacht and Ulster just feeding off the scraps?
Yeah, it's sad that you say that, but that is the way. It's like the women's AIL in general. Like you've got we talk about this, but you've got 4 or 5 teams that are considerably better than the rest, I suppose. And it's a bit like that in the Interpros as well. There's 2 teams like Leinster and Munster. You kind of expect that this weekend is the final, if you want to call it that. Leinster v Munster, and whoever wins that will go on to win the Interpros. I just think the caliber of player in Munster and Leinster, there's probably more quality players in Leinster and Munster, and in Ulster and Connacht, you've got a few that are very good, but then you've got a few maybe that wouldn't be as good. So, like with Leinster, for example, some of the players on the team are exceptional. Like Dana O'Brien, the out half for Leinster, she is. I said it about her in the AIL this season, but I think she's been the real talent of the AIL, and she was excellent the last day against Connacht. And then you look at Munster, you've got Dervlin Nicavard, and you've got Maeve O'Leary in the back row. They were both really, really good. So I think it is between Munster and Leinster. Like you just have to say it how it is. That is it. Like, but I also think, in the same regard, this game for Connacht and Ulster, when they play each other on Saturday, will effectively be their final. It will mean so much to both squads, I think, because I think Ulster haven't won a game in the Interpros with the women in a long, long time. And I think Connacht will be aiming to beat them. So I think for them, this is kind of the game that they would have kind of, highlighted and said, this is the one we need to target. This is the one we can actually win. So I think it is this is probably the biggest weekend of the Interpros, where you're going to get 2 really competitive games and 4 teams in 2 different games that really want to win and really have a chance of winning. So I think this weekend, if you want to watch the Interpros, this weekend is the real weekend where you can see really competitive games.
Absolutely. Those games, just to put on the record, Munster versus Leinster, that game at 12:15, and Ulster versus Connacht at 2:30. And as far as I know, the games are live on TG Car. But check local press.
There's 2 on TG Car, but also if you want, if you're not a Gaelgore, you can go on BBC Northern Ireland for the Ulster Connacht game if you want to watch that one.
Well, for those of us that have a bit of Changa, you can listen to it, or at least learn a bit of soak up a bit of your Cuid Gaelga over the coming weekend. And 2 big games, as you mentioned, at the top end and the bottom end of the interprovincials. Finally, for the show, we've a little bit to get through with this as well, and that is Schools Rugby. It's back with a bang. We had the draw for the Leinster Schools Cup just before Christmas, and those fixtures came out last week. It's going to be really, really exciting to watch that happen in the next 3 weeks. I think it all kicks off the last weekend in January and runs right through to St. Patrick's weekend. And of course, Munster, they started their games today. They had a pretty big clash between Bandon and Castle Troy, and it was a 1-point victory for Bandon Grammar School against Castle Troy College in that particular game. So really, really tight game, and took a late penalty from Peter Symington to seal that after it looked like Castle Troy had just done enough with a try from Usman Musa with a handful of minutes left on the clock. But tries in the first half from Aaron Cregan for Castle Troy and for Bandon Liam Pryor were also on the scoreboard as well. Symington with 3 penalties on the day to keep his tally to 9 points. Robert McConkey getting the other point as well. But it's nice to see the Munster Cup up and running. There's another game tomorrow as well. So, of course, that will be fully live on finalwhistle.ie. You can track all those games. That's Glenstall Abbey and Colossus Pobble Ban Tray. And that's in UL Arena tomorrow. Moved to UL Arena from, I think it was meant to be in Dúrdoyle, but it's now in UL Arena with kickoff at 2 o'clock. Meanwhile, in Connacht, we had a full round of fixtures this week as well in the opening groups. 7 teams in the Senior A group. Maris Athlone, they sit out this week's competition, but plenty of games across the rest of the division, and I happen to be at both of the 2 games played today.
I heard there's a good commentator for those games, Breifne. I heard you.
I wouldn't know anything about that now, I'm afraid. Although the guy that was with me, he was pretty good, so maybe it was him you were thinking of. Summerhill College and Muredach, Ballina, they took to the pitch at Sligo Rugby Club this morning. Noon o'clock, 12 o'clock today. And it was a really tight encounter, and it was only really settled at the end. It could have gone either way. In the end, Summerhill just had that little bit of extra attention to detail. They removed a lot of the needless handling errors that both sides were guilty of in the first half, and they tightened up that end of the game. And to be honest, that was probably the difference between the 2 sides. After the game, though, I caught up with one of the try scorers to have a chat with him about the game, what he thought about it. Kaelan Schon, he got what turned out to be the winning try for Summerhill. Here's what he had to say about the game.
Kaelan Schon, great start to the season. First win, first game.
Yeah.
Got to be happy.
Oh yeah, it was. We didn't make it easy for ourselves, but look, it was very tough game. But look, we just like to push on now. So.
Talk us through the game. Took nearly 20 minutes for the first score. A couple of missed kick opportunities on both sides, but finally got that try. Nice little opportunist, kind of quick set piece.
Yeah, it was just conditions made it very hard. Set pieces, didn't go to plan. And Muredach made it very hard, but we took the opportunity and just happy it paid off really.
Of course, second half came, they equalised. Yeah. Looked like they got a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
And then you had another fine opportunity, short range penalty.
Yeah.
You saw an opportunity, you took it.
Yeah.
Talk us through what was going through your mind when you had the ball in hand.
I just like sure to get low. That's what I like doing a lot. And I just saw the gap and went for it and paid off. So happy.
In terms of what this means for the rest of the season, obviously 2 big games to come against Garbally and the Jez. It's a good start, but it's only half the job.
Oh yeah.
Can you get one over on one of those 2 teams in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, hopefully. That's what we're going for. The momentum. That's nice to have this game done and dusted. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I believe it's down there. So yeah, hopefully we'll get the win.
Thoughts on the game now after tonight? What's the plans for the evening? Will you celebrate with the lads or just kind of take it one step at a time?
I'd say take it one step at a time. It's it's not done yet, so we'll just keep going and then hopefully get to the final.
Listen, well done. Congratulations.
Cheers. Thank you.
Kaelan Schon speaking to me after the game, scored a fabulous try, real opportunist, as you heard me in the interview say to him, 5 metre penalty. They kind of faked, the Muredach lad came off the line and therefore offside, and just that gap opened and he just went in. And I've never seen a player such a low trajectory. I wouldn't say he was any more than about 4 or 5 inches off the ground, and he just went straight in at the ankles, and they had no chance of keeping him out. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Muredach couldn't really get back into the game, couldn't find that score. But Summerhill will be very happy. They didn't get out of the group last year, so they've kind of given themselves a really good chance. But they do have, as you heard, 2 big games against Garbally College and Connacht Schools the Jez in the coming weeks. So they need to get a result from one of those 2. They go into those games as favourites, but anything can happen at this level. I also caught up with a member of the coaching staff from both sides, actually. Brian Roach spoke to me from Summerhill College, and I also spoke to Ronan Malloy. Maybe let's hear from Ronan first, his thoughts after the defeat to Summerhill College today, and then we'll jump straight to Brian Roach.
And your thoughts after that? Disappointing?
Very disappointing now. Tough day at the office, but glad to come away with a point after not playing particularly well. Good Summerhill team now, in fairness. In tough conditions, there was pretty good rugby played at times.
Talk us through, I suppose, the mind frame coming into the game, because obviously in terms of league form, they were in the league final, you missed out. They would have been the favourites coming in here, but you really put it up to them and defended resolutely throughout the entire game.
So our thought process basically the same going into every game, just go hard at every team. We know Summerhill were in the league final. We were unlucky to lose to them here in the league as well, but we thought if we went out, played good hard rugby, and we could have came out on top. Just probably the conditions didn't suit us as much today. We'd like to be a bit of running rugby with the backs, but it's tough out day at the office.
You seem to have a lot of joy in the scrum and kind of more or less won virtually all of them through the game, and it gave you a nice platform to kind of build when you did get that opportunity to attack.
Yeah, the scrums went really well for us. Just a few passes going astray in the back line is the only thing. If them passes sticked, could have been a different result, but maybe another day.
Going into the next 2 rounds, of course, 2 home games against the Jazz and Garbally. You've only been within a score of these teams through the league campaign. You're not that far off them on paper. Can you get enough points on the board to get through? How important that bonus point be for you?
That's what I was thinking anyways. Huge bonus point away from home in a tough day. So we'll go into the next 2 games. We basically have to win both our games to have a chance. So we'll go full hog now and try and win our 2 games.
Well, listen, thanks for talking to us. Hard luck today.
Perfect. Thanks a million.
Roach, you must be happy with that first points on the board.
Absolutely delighted. It was a really tough match. I heard you mention earlier that we were favourites. I don't believe we were favourites. We expected a huge challenge from Muredach. They're the champion. They were in the junior final 2 years ago. That was the real team that turned up today with Muredach. They were absolutely superb in facets. Their scrum in particular was very strong. Their line-outs didn't function no more than ours, but we just got the rub of the green at times there. We took our chances and we got them, and that was the difference in the match. It was 3 points the last time, it was 5 today. That's the closeness of the battles between us and them.
There was a lot of handling errors in the first half, and you seem to tighten that up a little bit in the second half, and that seemed to be the difference between the 2 teams in the end.
I think what in rugby terms, we were playing with the wind. And if you notice in the second half, they made a lot of handling errors. Sometimes the team playing with the wind, the ball is pushed ahead of them and they tend to reach for the ball. And it's something we practice. Both teams played better into the wind, if you remark. We scored more in the second half, they scored more in the first half, if you understand. And I think both teams played actually their best rugby into the wind in both times. But once again, it was a close match. They're a strong team. I expect them to win at home, both matches.
In terms of your own 2 tries, both came from well taken, quick penalties.
Well, the first one was a set piece move off a scrum, which we tried to do. It worked very well. Well finished by Clyde Regan on the wing. The second one was a close range penalty. We had the advantage, and when you have the advantage, you hammer it home. And they got over the line on a penalty, following several attempts in the corner, if I remember correctly.
You missed out on the semi-final spot last year. You'd be eager to right that this year?
Last year, we're hoping to. We still have a tough match against Dignodge away, and then we've Garbally at here. Both of them results. The Dignodge match was quite a comprehensive win for us. However, they were missing up to 5 players, I believe, on the day, and quality players at that. The challenge is going to be much different next Thursday. Garbally, we had a comeback win. We came from 17-3 down to win 22-17, momentum in the last 15 minutes. So once again, 5 points on that. These are all close battles. I think within the league, most of the matches have been close battles, been very few one-sided matches.
Well done today, best of luck in the rest.
Thank you, Breifne. Thank you.
Brian Roach there chatting to me earlier today, and of course Ronan Malloy there as well from the losing side, St Muredach College. But a very competitive game. Muredach were a bit off the pace in the league campaign, but they really put it up to Summerhill today and probably could have shaded it. Summerhill definitely deserved it and were the better side throughout, but I don't think anyone would be disappointed from Muredach had they managed to sneak it today. Just a few little basic handle errors just really cost them pretty dearly in the second half.
It's really good that you get the videos as well, Breifne, with the coaches, because I think it's something that you're used to in like Leinster because it gets on the TV or whatever. They're not called Premier Sport anymore, but that's where the game used to be on. But I think for the likes of Connacht and Munster, it's really good to have kind of those video pieces, be it with the players or be it with the coaches. It's really good to get kind of their thoughts after the game, what went wrong, what went well. It's really good to hear that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, listen, while we're in the mood, let's look at the other game that took place today. Of course, 48 times champions, Garbally College were up against Connacht Schools. They were last year's beaten finalists, and they were hoping to go to the same level, if not one further this year. Really, really good game. The intensity level, huge from the very, very start. It was Connacht Schools who ran out winners in the end. Just about a late scare for a try from Niall Jennings, converted by Joseph Tierney. A fantastic conversion from Joseph Tierney. Put the minimum between the sides, and then it was again an opportunity for Garbally to come back and actually try and get across the line, and it just didn't happen for them on the day. But I think all in all, Colossal was probably the better side over the full 17 minutes. There's a certain player playing for them. He scored 10 points in total. 1 try, 1 penalty, 1 conversion. He goes by the name of Callum Elwood. You may or may not have heard that surname before, and it is who you think it is. We're going to hear from him in just a couple of moments. But first, let's hear from the Garbally manager. He was very disappointed after the game, but he spoke to me anyway. Kevin Tierney. We'll hear what he had to say for himself after the defeat for Garbally against Callum Elwood this afternoon.
You have a Garbally College. Thoughts on the game tonight?
Disappointing. We knew it was only going to be a 1-score game. We played them 6 weeks ago and it was a 1-score game, so we know that we're very similar, and we're incredibly disappointed to lose the first game in the cup run.
I suppose towards the end of the game, 8 points down at one point, and they had a chance late in the game to go for a score, and a lot of teams might have said, okay, let's get within 7. You went for the juggler and got the try, and that kick at the end to put you in the lead before the final score. Very impressive performance from someone at that level.
Joseph Tierney, he practices hard, he works hard at the kicking, and he likes those ones because they're a 50-50 shot, so he doesn't get blamed if he misses them, and it's a bonus if he gets them.
In terms of the outcome of today's game, where does that leave you now looking into the next 2 weeks?
8 points down, we're looking at the bonus points could be valuable. There's 3, we've 2 games. We've Ballina away next week. They had a win today, so
they were beat today.
Oh, sorry.
We got a bonus point though.
Okay, so that's going to be a do or die for both of us. The losers of that are out of the competition, and then you have the hardest, possibly maybe the hardest game is the cycle game. Then the last game, all these teams are very close. We played Sligo at the start of the year. There was only a score in it. We played a lot of teams. There's very, very little between all the teams in this league. So we think we still have a chance, and hopefully we get to see the Jazz in the final.
What are the positives that you take out of today's game?
There's not a lot when you lose. There isn't. I'm finding it difficult to find any right now. We got a bonus point, it's probably the only thing. The
performance when they were down to 14 players, you were very much the dominant team at that stage, but you put some really nice runs of play together, particularly out wide when you could get the ball out to the wide men.
The first 15 minutes we had all the ball and we were attacking their line, and we didn't convert a number of chances there. I think that in the end told. Those 15 minutes were the most important for us. If we had got ahead at that stage, I think the game would have turned out different, and we didn't.
You kept the lads on the pitch for a while after the game. Can you tell us what you were talking about?
We left it to themselves. Let them discuss themselves. It's theirs. We try to help them, but ultimately it's their team. It's their decision making. It's their it's up to them now how they want to proceed for the rest of the season, and we'll help them with whatever decision they make.
Okay, listen, hard luck tonight and best luck for this competition. You got to be happy with that performance. 1 point victory in the end. Tight.
Yeah, very tight. Conditions weren't great, so we just had to manage the game, and yeah, we're happy how the forwards stuck it out, to be fair, and just to close the game out, and we're happy with the result.
Half time, you were 5-0 up. You scored the try in the first half. Thoughts on that?
First half was actually very good, but second half then our intensity went down, but we're happy with our talk and our intensity in the first half, so yeah, very pleasing with it.
Losing the player to the sin bin seemed to have a bit of a negative effect on the team, obviously, but you rallied back well after that to kind of come back in, and you had a really nice purple patch there, 2 or 3 minutes where you clocked up 10 points that ultimately won you the game.
Yeah, we did struggle when we got a yellow, because they had an extra man out in the launch play with the scrum, so we struggled on that, but we held them out. I think they scored a try today, so yeah, but we have to be happy with how we dug it out. Yeah.
Going into the next 2 games, obviously you have to play 2 teams. Summerhill had a win today, and Muredach as well. They ran them close. Thoughts on the 2 games coming up?
Yeah, we'll be focused on Summerhill now next week. they did. They bet us well, to be honest, when we played them last. So it's gonna be a tough challenge, like I said it was.
How important is home advantage next week?
Very important. We got lucky how the game's on Craig's, so it'll be very important. Yeah.
Excellent. Well done today, and best of luck from that.
Cheers. Thank you.
Callum Elwood there, probably my man of the match. His kicking was on point. He scored a try, and he was just all around just level-headed. But there was a really impressive performance from nearly everybody in probably on both sides, to be fair. It was just a really good game of rugby, and the conditions, as you can see there in the interview, absolutely terrible. But two lads at halfback, Elwood and Parkinson, Stephen Parkinson, manager of the team, coach of the team, and his son was playing. But himself and Eric had been teammates with school club and all down the years. So that partnership a generation on, really, really impressive. And I think they'll be thereabouts when it comes to the final. And when the silverware has been handed out, I think they're definitely at this stage they're shoo in for the semi-final in my book. But I think they'll give any team in that province a run.
Well, you couldn't deny it anyway. He's a spitting image of his old lad I was actually looking up pictures of his dad, like when he was around that age, on the break there, and they actually look so similar. It's mad, but he's obviously got the talent as well to back it up. And I love seeing that. Today Trevor Brennan's son Josh signed a contract extension with Toulouse, and it's great to see that old pros, their sons getting into the game and doing well. And by the sounds of things, he's going to have a good skill season, and who knows what the future holds for him.
Absolutely. No, it's he's going to be a busy man, I think, over the next couple of weeks anyway. But and he's only young. I think he's only 16. He might only be in transition year, so we're probably going to see plenty more of Callum Elwood in a Jazz jersey in the coming years, really. It's a good time probably just to mention to anyone who's watching that we are producing a lovely little book. It's going to be out in the next week or so. It's the Schools Guide, the Connacht Rugby Schools Guide for 2023, and it's got articles, in-depth analysis, and kind of a look at all the teams taking part in all the grades, boys, girls, from under 14s, juniors, right up to senior, at all grades, A, B, and C at each grade as well, through the thing. You can buy it on our website now for €15, down from 20 on its early bird offer, and will be out probably in the next week is when we expect to have it in people's hands. But it's going to be, I think, a really nice memento of school rugby players' seasons and I suppose schools' careers as well. So you can get your hands on that, finalwhistle.ie, just click on shop and it will bring you to that. We're also back tomorrow again with another live commentary of the Sligo Grammar School. They host CBS Roscommon in Sligo Grammar School tomorrow at 2:30. There'll be a good crowd there, a bit of an atmosphere, and it's going to be a really interesting day. And I think the favourites going for three cups in a row, and I think they're going to be hard beaten. I think there's a few teams who will fancy their chances, but if the Grammar show up and produce what they can, they're going to be really, really hard beaten. CBS Roscommon have the first task tomorrow. Disappointing league season for them, but they are hoping to take a scalp, and there's no reason why it couldn't be tomorrow. So plenty of action. If you want to follow all that, you'll get on finalwhistle.ie/live from about 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. But Ciaran, that's it for us this week. Nice and short, well under the hour, which I like. My OCD kicks in around 58, 59 minutes. Yeah. So, but listen, pleasure as always for joining me. Thank you very much. And we'll be chatting to you again next week after what promises to be a really exciting weekend of rugby over the next couple of days. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Have a good one. Enjoyed that.